let's start over.
All right.
Can we get the question again, sir, for us?
Yeah. Okay. Just kind of give us your thoughts on the return game right now. Obviously, Isaiah looks like to be the front runner for that job after losing Andre Roberts. Just what do you see from that competition right now?
Yeah, Isaiah, he's in that number one spot right now. He had a great return last season. We've seen him in the past doing it, there's nothing that shows anything different now. He's a guy that I have to drag off the field every day after practice with Jugs. He works his butt off. He cares. His mindset is there. He's in the driver's seat, but we have two other really good returners right behind him that are making it really good competition. Brandon Powell is done in this league and his return balls, for the Falcons and is a talented player. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the preseason. That's what those games are for. We try to simulate, the punt return game here with Jugs and live leg with Matt Haack punting for him. But until you see him in the regular season game, it's a competition that we're gonna have to get through. Speedy's done a good job. He has improved tremendously from where he showed up here, and just going off his tape in college, he's ultra talented with the ball in his hands, and so those are guys we got to get reps to all three of them and see what they can do in these games and in competition. We have some stuff planned on Saturday for the return game and to see how they're catching, how they're fielding in the stadium. Those are the looks and those are the evaluation we're going to put into it.
I think Matt was maybe the first free agent you guys signed around that period. What was the reason you went out and targeted him? What does Matt bring as a punter?
I'm hoping for I'm wishing for the best for Corey Borges. It's unfortunate the way it worked out. That's the business aspect of it. So as soon as that happened, Brandon Bean and I and Coach McDermott all met and said, okay, what's the next best available? Matt Haack was the best available. He was number one on my list going, hey, go get this guy. We were fortunate to get him here. Very talented, big leg, very good control. And I can't say enough how much he's meshed with our guys, our core guys. He's a pro. He's a very, very, very good holder. I think he's going to be a great caddy for Bass, and what I mean by that is he's going to help him with his shot. He has great understanding for the winds and just that he's played a lot of ball and understands the kicking game as much as anybody. Very, very smart. So he's just a great addition. They've meshed so well. They've gotten together for barbecues and all that. So they're just a good group that I'm fortunate to have really, really good specialists. And Matt is exceptional. He's exceeded my expectations thus far.
Take us inside. Andre Roberts was so good for you guys for 2 years and such a dependable part. When you guys figure out that he's not going to be back, take me inside what the offseason was like with Isaiah, because he was on the roster when that move happened when he went to Houston. Andre, what was those interactions like? What did you tell him to work on, and how impressed are you with the work that he put in to improve?
It was same thing. Unfortunately, lose Andre Roberts. He's elite returner in this league. But that's part of it. It's part of the deal. And Isaiah's, did a great job for us last year. He has the talent. He has the elite speed, the quickness. I think it was more of a mindset for him. He's got to believe it. And that's why I said, I believe in you doing it. Do you believe in yourself? And as soon as he, felt that he felt that the coaches and we believed him, Coach McDermott on down, you've seen his, he's just been in, taking full control of it, and you could just see the positive energy and the positive vibe of he feels confident in himself, and that's really what it comes down to. He's got to feel very, very comfortable back there, feeling it clean, because when the ball's in his hand, just like on offense, he's as talented as there is.
The expectation is you're going to take a step back on kickoff returns. Andre is so great. Have you used that as maybe a challenge to the blockers to say, okay, have you ever had a little something to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, the media might be the perception, but that's not my style of coaching. I don't coach with the negative vibe about it. It's everything's positive. We got a good group of guys in front of them. Andre Roberts is elite. I mentioned that, but I think the guys we have blocking for him, they're exceptional. Tyler Manikevich, Quan Johnson. We have really, really good players around him. Saran Neal's gotten so much better. We got really good players blocking for him in all phases. And so I really just trust our guys and what we do. The way we practice with the tempo we do, the effort, the buy-in on special teams. We're trying to be the best we can. The best, if we're far, we're trying to improve every day and every week. I think that we don't look into like, hey, okay, we're gonna have a big letdown. I don't coach that way.
Heath, is there a possibility you would consider having someone just do kick returns, someone just do punt returns? Obviously, Andre did both, but I believe Isaiah's had more experience with punt returns. Marquez was more kick returns in college. Is the hope to have someone do both, or are you open to the idea of someone doing one of each?
It really depends on how the roster plays out. You'd love to have one guy do both of them. But that's definitely a possibility. Until we get closer and see what they do in the preseason and see how this roster is going to play out. That's three receivers competing for kick return and a punt return job. I don't know how the roster is going to play out. We're still getting through that. With the Coach McDermott, Brandon Beaner going through all that, and I'll give him my feedback. But we're open to having one for each.
What do you guys? Sorry, go ahead.
Lance Bass, did he exceed expectations last year, and how do you now approach him entering, coming off a season like that and building, knowing he's already set a bar for himself?
Yeah, Tyler Bass is, from the moment I met him, I just loved what he was about. He's ultra talented, and then his mindset is unbelievable. Every day his approach, he wants to get better. He's super competitive. And the way he finished the season, there was no surprise to me at all, just because that's his mindset every day. And then it led in right into the offseason. He had as good as offseason I've seen, and right into training camp, he's been unbelievable. I can't say enough great things about him. We're expecting a really, really good year from him.
Teams pretty frequently bring in competition or at least another kicker or punter to maybe give the guy that they think is going to have the job maybe a little bit of a rest. You guys didn't do that this year. Why not?
I just trust our guys. We have as good a group as anybody, and that's one thing. When I talked to the organization, was I trust our guys. I believe in our guys, and I really wanted to focus on the continuity, especially with Matt coming in here. Let's just make sure I'm not trading holders for Bass. Trying to figure all that out. Hey, let's get really comfortable for Bass, for Reed. They feel really comfortable who they're snapping to, what the holds are going to be like, just really clean, just trusting these guys and working together. The good, really, really good groups across the league, you see whether it's Baltimore over the years or it's these really good groups. They're super consistent. They work together for a bunch of years, and that's what I'm going for. Let's get these guys where they work together. They get to know each other on and off the field without having any distractions of another guy coming in and being a factor in it.
It seems every year there's rule changes to your third of the game, right? Special teams. Another one this year with the setup zone. Obviously, without getting into strategy and details, like how challenging is that, or is that something that we just have to evolve a little bit, or like how much replanning has to go into all that now?
It is, and that's one thing we did in the spring. We told the guys, said, hey, we're going to work through some stuff. We're going to try some different things. Put it on tape. So we come into training camp. My assistant and I, Matthew Smiley, had a really good plan of how we want to do it. We thought we knew what we wanted to do, and then we just got a good, training grounds out here and OTAs of really seeing what it looked like. So that's something we work through every year. It's something different, and we just try and give them the best, the best approach to it, and we'll just, like I said, I think we got a pretty good plan going forward with it.
What role does Darryl Johnson play for you, and how has he evolved and his role grown in your side of things?
He's always been great for me. To get 4 phases out of a defensive end, those are hard to find. There's pregame when I talk to the other coordinators, he's the first guy that they bring up. He's a guy they have to. It's a mismatch having a guy that big and that fast running down the field. He's just a huge factor they have to account for. And then it's what I tell these young players. Look what he's done. He's able to find a niche on special teams and buy himself time to play defense, to learn the skill. He came from a small school in college. So here he is. Now he's having a good training camp, at defensive end. So that's what special teams for is buy you time. Obviously these guys want to be starters at other phases, But really, you can really play a lot of ball and play some good ball. And there's a lot of correlation between, a defensive player, offensive player, how, we try to use the same terminology on special teams, same techniques, same communication. All the terms are very similar. We try to make them where they're they fit together. So I think that's where Darryl is really excelled.
Can you explain, I guess in layman's terms, as best you can, exactly what Darryl does for you on returns and in special teams? Just so people have an understanding of, he's a mismatch, but how and what is he doing?
Yeah. He's a huge man running down on kickoffs, running as fast as linebackers. He's a guy that gets double teamed a lot because you can't single block him. When you allocate two guys to one guy, it just frees up one other guy on our coverage group. The fact that he can hold the double team, get double teamed, and hold his spot right there where the return's trying to go, you guys don't realize how much that's a factor because it's all constricting gaps, trying to squeeze as much as we can. But the worst thing about, when you have a guy running down on a kickoff and he gets double teamed, he gets washed out there like the majority of the guys do, it creates a big seam in where the return's supposed to go. So his ability to take on double teams, to make plays, his understanding, he's covered so many kicks, he folds as good as anybody. He has a great understanding for blocking schemes, and his ability to cover, on kickoff, on punt. He plays right tackle for me, and he protects really well, has good understanding on all the rushes he's going to get, and then cover down the field. You don't see big guys running down the field like that.
You mentioned Tyler, Jaquan, and obviously Darryl just there. Covering kicks, is there anybody else, especially maybe new guys throughout camp, that it's really stood out to you in that performing?
Yeah, Reggie Gilliam's, he had a great year last year, and I think he's going to be a big factor for us this year. Some of the young players, Quentin Morris, he's had a really, really good camp. I was excited about what he did in the off season, and then coming into camp, he's really shown some good stuff. And then some of those young corners, they got a good battle at young corners. With Wild Goose, McLeod, and OG. Those guys are really battling. I'm looking forward to see what they can do in preseason at gunner. Those corners, the biggest impact they can do is what can they do at gunner. So getting them reps, in practice, and then see what they do in preseason.
On that note, Heath, I don't know. I mean, it seems like this roster is just loaded with guys who could literally be core special teams players if you wanted them to. That's how good it can be. How tough is that on you? Or how great is it, first of all, for you, but also tough to make decisions because these guys can all help. I mean, all the linebackers can play special teams, all the corners. I don't know if I've ever seen a roster like that.
Yeah, we got a great group, and you're exactly right. From top down, there's really good players that we get to choose from, and they all have different good qualities that you'd love to have on the roster. You just wish you could keep them all. Nature of the business, but it's a good problem to have. I've been on the other side, and it's not always that way.
The flip side of that, I guess, is you mentioned offense and defense and special teams kind of being a holdover, right? Buying time. What's it like having to deal with that much turnover season in and season out on your special teams group?
I think that's fun though. New guy comes in ready to compete. It's a mix between young players of trying to make a roster and their drive. It also keeps the older guys hungry. There's a lot of guys that play in this league. Tyler Manikevich that hasn't started a bunch of games, but could make a career out of it on special teams. Whether it's Tywan Jones, same concept, right? He doesn't play a bunch of offense, but he knows he could play a long time in this league, and those guys do a really good job of helping these young players understanding the importance of it. It's very leadership driven. Those guys run the program. My older guys are take those young guys under their wing, by example. If it's not up to our standard, they let them know. I rarely have to say a thing to the young players because we have such good veterans.
Special teams always has turnover, but you got less turnover than I presume you've had in your whole long playing and coaching. I mean, I think your top four guys with snap-wise are back. Maybe it might be 5 out of 8 or something. I mean, it's pretty good. You got less turnover than some teams, right?
It's great. Yeah, anytime you have those guys back, they understand the system. This is our third year together. Like I said, they could run the program. I do installs, and I've even thought about just having them run this install. They know it as good as I do. So, there's something to be said when you have those guys coming back. We can take our game to the next level. You're not starting, special teams 101 We can go to 201, 301. You could really give them that much more when they've all worked together. The guy next to him is very similar, and that's a great thing. That's a great deal with the roster of having good players back again this year.
Thanks,
No problem. Anytime.